Welcome back, agents. I'm LtBuzzLitebeer, and it's time for another Division 2 upload. This morning, the Phase 2 patch notes for the Title Update 10 PTS were released, and I've got to tell you, there's a lot going on in here. We've got brand set modifications, talent changes, gear set changes, a huge list of specifics for exotics, and a major change to incoming repairs. So like I said, there's a lot that I need to break down for you. But before we dive in, if you like this style of dedicated Division content, please hit the subscribe button and make sure to ring the bell to never miss another notification from my YouTube channel. All right, let's begin. As I said in the intro, I'm going to be reading directly from this huge list of proposed changes for Phase 2 of the PTS. This is for Title Update 10, so let me just dive right in. And in case you want to read these word for word, I will leave a link in the video description below. All right, so first up is gear. The first huge change is to incoming repairs, and you need to pay attention to this one. Incoming repairs no longer increases the amount of armor repaired by armor kits, talents, or gear set effects. And there's a huge kind of summation here from the dev team, and let me read it word for word for you. Developer comment: incoming repairs was always meant to be the defensive attribute equivalent to repair skills, so that players could further enhance the amount of healing they receive from their skills or the group's healer. Unfortunately, the underlying code prevented us from differentiating between alternate sources of armor repair, such as those from talents and gear sets like Foundry Bulwark or Firewall's unique armor kit effect. We want to address this during the development of Warlords of New York, but chose to postpone the fix in order to deal with high priority issues at the time. We underestimated the extent to which this attribute would affect the new Warlords meta, and failed to predict the severity of degenerate gameplay it would cause when combined with certain talents or gear sets. It's important to stress that this is not only a PvP-only issue or an instance of the PvP environment affecting PvE balance. Incoming repairs was compromising both aspects of the game and needed to be addressed, especially considering this update coincides with the release of a new raid. Not addressing the issue would mean forcing ourselves to balance all existing and future gear and talents around the knowledge that players could potentially, read very likely, double the amount of repairs they receive, which stifles creativity and effectively limits player choice. Alright, so that's a pretty long summation there from the dev team, but it explains there's a big proposed change to incoming repairs. So pay attention to that, those of you who run around with TP or the Pestilence or something like that. Big change to that. All right, so we knew sidearms were going to be in Phase 2. Here is the list of changes to the sidearm. Double barrel sawed-off shotgun, optimal range reduced to 8 meters from 11 meters. All right, here come the buffs. 5.86 Magnum, 68.8% increase. Police 6.86 Magnum, 68.8% increase. The Maxim 9, 23.5% increase. D50, the Deagle, 17.5% increase. First Wave PF45, 13.5 up. Custom PF45, 9.7 up. Military M9, 8.7 up. 93R, that's the Raffica, 7.7% up. Snub-nosed Disseros, 6.5 up. Officers M9A1, 6.3 up, and the Disseros itself, 5.9 up. However, there are three nerfs. M45A1, 9.5 down. Tactical M1911, 9.5 down. And M1911, 7.3 down. So we knew sidearm changes were coming. There they all are. All right. Yesterday on the upload that I put up, there was kind of like a generalized statement from the dev team after the state of the game concerning exotics. Well, here are the real breakdowns. So this is the meat and potatoes of all the exotic changes. Here we go. The Bighorn, damage increased by 11.2%. We already knew that. Added functionality that provides additional headshot damage. Full talent is now, when scoped, switches to semi-automatic fire mode, dealing 450% weapon damage with each shot. The new portion is headshots grant plus 1% headshot damage, stacks up to 50 times, resets to 0 at full stacks. All right, Eagle Bearer, we knew this one, damage increased by 7.8%. The Chameleon, Damage increased by 32.8%. I covered this one yesterday, but they've added new functionality, and here it is. Hitting 30 headshots grants plus 20% critical hit chance and 50% critical hit damage for 45 seconds. Hitting 60 body shots grants plus 80% weapon damage for 45 seconds. Hitting 30 leg shots grants plus 150% reload speed for 45 seconds. And the new portion buffs refresh when out of combat. Big changes there. Bullet King, damage going up by 2.6%. The Nemesis, damage going up by 11.1%. Nemesis already hit pretty hard, so you're adding on 11.1%. Let those headshots ring. All right, Liberty, added functionality to provide extra damage if you're trying to keep stacks. Full talent, the full talent is now. New hits grant plus 2% weapon damage, stacks up to 30%. Or 30 times, excuse me. Headshots consume all stacks, repairing your shield for 3% per stack. So remember, the Liberty was all about just repairing your shield. Now it's actually going to stack up weapon damage. Very interesting. Regulus, increased initial bullet accuracy, and they changed the Regulus third attribute bonus from damage to armor to headshot damage. Okay, so that's the Regulus. Both the Merciless, Ruthless, which are the same thing, damage increased by 12.5%, added functionality to provide extra non-explosive damage as well. Full talent is now. This weapon fires on trigger pull and release. If both bullets hit the same enemy, gain a stack. At 7 stacks, shooting an enemy deals the new port 900% amplified damage and creates a 7-meter explosion, dealing 1200% weapon damage, consuming the stacks. So for you Merciless, or you should be using the Merciless, not the Ruthless. But for you Merciless users, big change to the way the functionality is. Diamondback increased by 7.7%. Text updated to clarify a new target isn't marked until after the 5-second buff. Lullaby, Sweet Dreams, increased damage by 11%. I like that change. Lady Death, damage increased by 18.9%. The Chatterbox, damage increased by 16.7%. Ninja Bike Messenger knee pads, added functionality to add bonus armor. Full talent is now. Performing a cover-to-cover or vaulting reloads your drawn weapon and grants plus 25% bonus armor for 5 seconds. That's interesting. But that, yeah. That one could be cool, because as you parkour over an object, not only does it reload your drawn weapon, but it grants you 25% bonus armor for 5 seconds. Dodge City Gunslinger Holster, added functionality that makes your hit do headshot damage. Full talent is now. When your pistol is holstered, gain a stacking buff every 0.3 seconds up to 100. When you swap to it, your first shot consumes the buff and deals plus 10% damage per stack. The new portion, this deals headshot damage to anywhere you hit. Listen to that again. This deals headshot damage to anywhere you hit. So it sounds like if you can hit a body shot, you're still going to apply headshot damage. So interesting. BTSU gloves. Changed functionality to no longer grant group raid wide overcharge unless you are at a skill tier 6. Okay. So for those of you that when you blow your hive using your BTSU gloves, you give overcharge to the rest of your squad. Extremely helpful on Legendary. Now that overcharge will only apply if you are at a skill tier 6. Added functionality to provide hive skill haste. Full talent is now. Here's the new talent. Grants plus 15% hive skill haste per skill tier. Detonating, and this has been changed, detonating a hive refreshes your skill cooldowns and grants overcharge for 15 seconds. If it's skill tier 6, this effect also applies to all allies. So it still works, but only if you are at a skill tier 6 will detonating the hive will grant overcharge to the rest of your squad. Allies receiving this effect are unable to benefit from it again for 120 seconds. That hasn't changed. Sawyer's knee pads. These are extremely useful now, especially because of the damage stacking bonus. Added functionality to continue to provide damage bonus move for a short duration. Full talent is now. Cannot be staggered by explosions. Helpful. Increase total weapon damage by 3% every second you are not moving. Stacks up to 10 until you start moving. The new portion is all stacks lost 10 seconds after moving. Okay. So you can actually jump into cover, stay there for 10 seconds, pick up the 30% damage, and it sounds like you can move with the 30% damage for 10 seconds before losing the buff. Those just became almost best in class. Wow. Pick up 30% and keep it for 10 seconds. The Mantis changed Mantis' third attribute bonus from critical hit chance to damage to targets out of cover. That will help the Mantis. Remember, I commented on the exotic weapons. The Mantis felt a bit underpowered. Damage to targets out of cover is going to handle that. And the Ravenous. When an enemy with defensive primer stacks on them is killed, you now gain the benefit of those stacks without needing to detonate them first. So huge amount of changes. And once again, I'm going to leave the PTS patch notes link down in the video description. I'll probably post it as the first comment and pin it as well. I encourage you all to go over and look at these things. And we're not done yet, but there's a lot of changes proposed for the exotics. The new talents, both Headhunter and Future Perfect, are being changed. Let me read through these. For the Headhunter, buff icon can now show how close to the damage cap you are at. Now properly caps damage to your current weapon when you weapon swap. Damage cap lowered with new functionality. After killing an enemy with a headshot, your next weapon hit within 30 seconds deals 125% of that killing blow's damage in addition to it. Damage is capped to 800% of your weapon damage. The new portion is, this is raised to 1,250%, lowered from 1,500, if your headshot damage is greater than 150%. Okay, so hopefully you can sort through what I just said there. I'll have to go in and take a look at it. Next one is Weapon Talent, Future Perfect. Fixed issue with overcharge lasting indefinitely if you weapon swap. It is intended for the buff to remain when weapon swapping, just not indefinitely. So perfect version on mechanical animal, numbers adjusted. Weapon kills grant +1 skill tier for 19 seconds from 18 seconds, stacks up to 3 times. Weapon kill at skill tier 6 grants overcharge for 15 seconds. Overcharge cooldown 90 seconds up from 80 seconds. Gear sets. Wow. We have Negotiator's Dilemma, Foundry, Bulwark, Future Initiative, Hardwired, and Aces and Eights. Looks like the major changes, looks like there's 4 changes to Negotiator's Dilemma. Let me read through them. Damage value transferring between players was not scaled correctly. Previously transferred damage was higher than the initial damage the original target took. Yeah, that was an issue. Damage transfers on the initial bullet that marks a new target. Fix some UI feedback bugs. Added a 15-meter range cap for the damage transfer whilst in PvP. Foundry Bulwark, healing of set in PvP was not scaled correctly, should now be in line with damage taken. That was covered yesterday. Future Initiative, backpack and chest armor now have a utility gear mod slot instead of defensive. That's a good thing because it was a skill tier set. Increased 2-piece to repair skill bonus from 15% up to 30%. Wow. So they doubled repair skills and increased the 3-piece skill duration bonus from 15 to 30%. So both the 2- and 3-piece bonuses for Future Initiative just got doubled. Hardwired increased 3-piece repair skill bonus from 15 to 30%. So that got doubled as well. So hardwired, yeah, if you want to make a hardwired healer build, you just picked up quite a bit. You just doubled the 3-piece bonus. Aces and Eights, 3-piece headshot damage bonus is now additive rather than multiplicative. Thank you. Increased 3-piece headshot damage bonus from 20 to 30%. So they're kind of compensating a little bit there for it. All right, current brand sets that we have also are being effective in here. So Alps, they increased the 1-piece repair skill bonus from 15 to 20%. Murakami increased 2-piece repair skills bonus from 15 to 20%, so these are all small. R&K increased 3-piece repair skills bonus from 15 to 20%. Providence Defense increased 1-piece headshot damage bonus from 10 to 15%. Araldi increased 2-piece headshot damage from 10 to 15%. And Grupo Sombra increased 3-piece headshot damage from 10 to 15%. For skills, the Reinforcer Chem Launcher, the UI has been updated to clarify that the initial heal only affects allies and not the skill user, and the functionality has not changed. All right, balance changes for PvP. Talents, Efficient, reduced specialization armor kit bonus from 100% to 50%. So those of you running around with Efficient, you just lost half of the effectiveness. Versatile, reduced the amplified weapon damage bonus for SMGs and shotguns from 35 to 25%. Okay, so for those of you who like to weapon swap and pick up amp damage, you just lost 10% on the SMG and shotgun swap. Skills, This is for PvP. Increased striker drone damage by 10%. Increased assault turret damage by 20%. Increased stinger hive damage by 75%. And that's all for balance changes in PvP. PvE. Oh, wow. Another developer comment. We've seen players' concerns about higher difficulties becoming too easy looking at game data and player strategies. NPCs in Legendary and Heroic are often too easily trivialized using status effects. And these top difficulties we're proposing to raise NPC resistance to status effects to prevent them from getting indefinitely locked in status effect reactions. This is a first pass and we'll make adjustments for TU10 where needed. As a big CC build user, I'm a little resistant to any changes to this. I think they are quite appropriate, seeing as how NPCs, they still seem to be able to just wander around and climb things, and they'll charge right at you even when they're blind. So these are the changes. Increased NPC resistance to status effects. Okay, no changes were made to story, normal, hard, or challenging. These were made at previous values. In Legendary, base resistance for NPCs is now 40%. It was previously at 25%, so they're picking up another 15% resistance to status effects. In Heroic, base resistance for NPCs is now 25%. It was previously at 0. Wow, so they picked up 25% resistance. Note, this is additive when the existing veterancy resistance scaling. The veterancy resistances have been Veteran 20%, Elite 25%, and Named 35%. For greater clarity, this means for Legendary NPCs, the resistances are default Red Bar 40%, Veteran 60%, Elite 65%, and Named 75%. Hunter's base resistance is now 40%. Previously, it was at 25%. Note, since all hunters are named NPCs, so the resistance is 75% due to the above-mentioned veterancy resistance. So here's the notes. Status effects have a minimum required duration of 0.5 seconds, so if the NPC's resistance causes the effect to be less than the minimal duration, while less than half a second, the status effect will not be applied. This is the same way status effect resistance works for players. I'll have to experiment with this one. I personally run the CC build on our squads when we're running Legendary, and I like to blind and hit them with the jammer pulse. So I'll have to see how that is handled on the PTS. I'll have to squad up. Loot, we covered this yesterday, but here it is. Item power, updated item power distribution to have a better spread between minimum and max for all difficulties. This increased the minimum rolled item power for field proficiency, DC caches, clan caches, and season caches. Difficulty scaling, regular loot from loot containers and missions now scale with mission difficulty. Check. Targeted loot from loot containers and missions now scales with mission difficulty. Double check. Thank you, Nikki. Loot pools, Warlords of New York brands. Listen to this one, everyone. Warlords of New York brands can now also show up as targeted loot in DC, including Dark Zones. Known issues on PTS for World Tier 5 players. Not all targeted loot pools may be available at the same time. Okay, so, you can now get the NYC brands as showing up as targeted loot in DC, including the Dark Zones. Crafting. Increased minimum and max crafting results. Added weight and crafting, added weighting to crafting results to have a better spread between min and max. And removed final World Tier 5 crafting bench upgrade, as its power increase is now redundant. There's also, looks like about 10 different little bug fixes. Once again, as I keep saying, I'm going to leave I'll leave the link to these PTS patch notes down in the video description. Thank you for staying with me as I ramble through. So just quick summation. Excuse me. Big change to incoming repairs proposed. Most sidearms, other than the M45A1, Tactical M1911, and M1911, all got damage increases, huge increases for the heavy hitting weapons in the sidearm category. A lot of very specific changes to almost all the exotics. Some things that stuck out to me: the change to BTSU gloves, the change to Sawyers, that you can keep the 30% damage increase and move. Hell yeah. Most of the SMGs in the exotics picked up damage. Let's see, Bullet King picked up Chameleon, big changes, and the Bighorn actually has a new stacking mechanic for headshot damage. That'll be interesting to try out. Both the new talents, Headhunter and Future Perfect, just had changes to them. We had 5 different gear sets have changes. The most changes, I think, were to Negotiator's Dilemma. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 changes to brand sets. And then we had some PvP balance changes, including efficient and versatile. If you use those talents, you definitely want to read up on this. And then we had proposed changes to, looks like, status effects on heroic and legendary, which for those of you running CC builds is really a change, you know, the way you run through those missions. So that's a lot that I just covered there. If you have any questions, leave them for me in the comment section below. I'm always available to take any comments or questions, anything like that. I'm also looking forward to your feedback. And as always, I think it's going to wrap up this Phase 2 patch notes review. And I look forward to reading your feedback in the comment section below, like I just said. If you haven't yet done so, remember to smash the sub button and ring the notifications bell to never miss one of my uploads. If you like the video, rate it with a thumbs up. If not, with a thumbs down. If you feel like supporting my content creation outside of YouTube, I'll leave links to my Patreon and Teespring merch stores in the video description. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter for all my latest thoughts concerning most things gaming related, with a new diversification into gaming news and reviews, brand new on my channel. And until the next one, this is LtBuzzLitebeer, signing off.